I'm totally looking forward to this. Tomorrow we've got an excellent day all day, and I plan to get up on the foredeck and get start getting the fairing compound laid down. This evening I'm going to get the deck uncovered, and I've got a little bit left on the port side to get sanded out, and I've dug out some 60 grit, and I'm going to hand sand that port side and try to get that much, you know, everything was sanded last time I was down here, but I just wasn't satisfied with the port side back next to the cabin. I'm going to do that a little bit more. And then in the morning, I'll hit it all with some acetone, and hopefully we'll go ahead and get started. I've got all the equipment here. I've got the fairing compound here, and so we'll see if we can't get started on our week. And I'm looking forward to it a big time. So now let's go take a look at the boat. They've had a lot of wind, a lot of rain down here. Thankfully, I'm looking over, and my mast and boom are still up on the stand, so that's good. Okay, you see the amount of pollen on that? Thankfully, I think pollen season's just about over. Oh, perfect. Awesome, awesome. Well, we're in good shape on this. Everything was nice and taut, and the rain didn't get in, so we're good there. And all we got left to do is get everything untied and get aboard. Well, good news, I left this place spotless. I love it. I love it. Oh, it smells so good down here. I love it. Right now it is about 10 minutes to 8 at night, believe it or not. Hang on, we're going to turn this around. Okay. It's just, I'm just so glad to be down here. What a blessing. The old girl looks good down here. I'm going to see if I can't round up some carpet to go down on this floor. That'd be kind of nice. And I got a couple other things I want to get done while I'm here on kind of dressing up the cabin. But primary, number one, is to get the foredeck faired. So tomorrow morning, we're going to get that going. The other thing I've got to do, besides getting the tarp off and getting everything sanded out with that 60 grit, I've also got to tape everything off. Oh, go over things with acetone, obviously. But then I've got to tape everything off along the tow rails and in so that the fairing compound only just goes out just over the actual fiberglass that I've already got uncovered and sanded out. So I want this stuff bonding to fiberglass, not to the old gel coat. And the gel coat comes in about 2.5 inches. I don't want it going onto the gel coat. You know, all of that will eventually get sanded out and, you know, faired, all that kind of stuff. But I want basically all this gel, all the fairing compound to be going on the fiberglass itself. Then obviously over the top of, I'm talking about the old original fiberglass that comes in from the edges of the boat, from the gunnels. We're going to start there and go to the inside so that everything all over our brand new foredeck is completely covered in fairing compound. It's going to be complicated because we got some areas that really dip in, particularly back on the starboard side over here, back toward the cabin. There's a place that was, like I said, I had put a lot of work into that with making repairs and so forth, and it's kind of dipped down right there from all the initial damage. So that's all going to be done, but that's tomorrow. And for tonight, yeah, I just wanted to get out here and just kind of get this one as a start-off video. And welcome to work week aboard Little Girl. And ultimately, we're looking to get not only a lot of work done here, but we're going to go and have just a ball down at the launch of Arabella. The cool thing is my wife and I are going to be going over there the night before, and we're staying at the Seaport Resort and Inn over right down on the harbor in New Haven, and this is going to be fun. We're going to look forward to that. Go to a nice restaurant over there, and then first thing in the morning, we're going to be only like 15 minutes from that parking lot. And we plan. I want to be in that parking lot no later than 8 o'clock, and catch one of the very first shuttles over there so that we can be there early and get some good shots of Arabella. Hopefully, we'll see. I don't know what time the shuttles are going to be running. I tried to call, and I never got an answer on it, but we're going to be there probably 8 o'clock in the morning into that parking lot out near the interstate. So, all right, I'm done. Let's go grab a bite to eat, and we'll see you guys in the morning. Well, I guess it's almost all sanded out to port here, what I'm talking about. But at this point, I've got to go in and grab a bite to eat, and help my mom for a few minutes. Anyway, yeah, it's that 60 grit really does a job. It gets right down into it and gets a nice bite for the fairing compound that's going on. But anyway, I've had to really work along this port edge here, and even on my tow rails, trying to get a bunch of places where I put my hand down with some resin, some epoxy resin on it, trying to get that all cleaned up. And because all this has got to be done with some acetone and then taped off in a way so that I can, know right where my fairing compound is going to come to. And then when I come back out, before I do anything else, I've got to come along the front edge of the cabin right here. And I want to be able to have a nice smooth curve up into the front of the cabin where the fairing compound is going. And I need to sand that all out right at the base of the cabin. But, yeah, pretty good for now. Been at it for a while. And it looks like this is going to work out. All right, we'll see you guys after breakfast. Get up here on the foredeck. Well, listen, this is just a word of warning for you guys that are working on your boat and laying down a new deck. Please, whenever you do it, be wiser than I was and mask off your bright work. This is a breast hook right up in the very bow, right up in the peak. And nice, huge hunk of, looks like white oak. Yeah, definitely white oak. And I was not careful, and I've got a whole bunch of glopped on epoxy resin, and just, you can see it right here. And it was even worse right around here. The port side didn't turn out too bad, but the starboard side, what a mess. And it is so much work to sand off all of it. And you wouldn't want to use a sander because you're too picky. You'd be gouging out. But man, I've got so much work to do here to try to clean this up, because when it's all over and done with, I want this to be looking sweet, ship shape and Bristol fashion, And yeah, it's whenever you're doing something like this, mask off ahead of time and keep your hands off. Preaching to myself here. Wow. Okay. Just a word of warning. Like I said, you're doing work up on your deck and with resin, epoxy resin and stuff, mask off ahead of time so you don't end up with a truckload of sanding later. After a couple hours of sanding, and I do mean a couple hours, I've gotten all the way around here, and I've gone all the way out to the tow rail, and in order to get a good smooth transition. What I think I'm going to do at this point is go ahead and mask off the tow rail itself, and use, at least for the most part, use just a little bit in from the tow rail as my margin for putting down the fairing. But in the meantime, what I've got to do at this point, you can see how much dust and crap I've kicked up here. I'm going to go ahead and get the vacuum cleaner up here, vacuum it, Then I'm going to hit it with some acetone, and then we'll be ready to start layering some fairing. But this has taken way longer than I thought it would in terms of just prep work, getting this deck ready. And as I feel this, and by the way, this is over an original coring, the only original coring I left in here. I can just feel a whole lot of lumps and bumps and stuff like that. But that's what the fairing is for, you know. That's the stuff, you know, it goes right down into that because it's been, you know, given a good tooth with a nice 60 grit, you know, sandpaper scratch up. And anyway, the fairing will go down and it'll fill in all that, and we'll get a nice smooth coat on the surface, and eventually this will be a nice deck. Eventually, everything's vacked. Everything's cleaned up nice. A lot of work went into that, but it's time to do some acetone. Whew, man, that stings. Paying particular attention around the outside. All the work we just did, and get all the sanding dust up. I'm gonna also be working on the toe rails themselves. I ended up with having to do a lot of sanding off of glops of epoxy resin that I had spilled on or put my fingers on. Yeah, it just, yeah, it's not good. But it's pretty much all cleaned up now. I think it'll come up all right when we, after this, these are, get the deck done, then we're going to do the toe rails all over again, sand them, and go another 2 or 3 coats of Cetal on them, because that's what's on them originally that I put down after we refinished them the first time. This looks so much better since I re-sanded everything on the outside next to the toe rails. Boy, now it looks like it's ready for some fairing compound. Before, really iffy. It needed sanding. I'm glad I redid everything this morning. All right, that's down. Get some fresh paper towel. All right, we're coming right along here. All right, I gotta go over and get starboard, and then we'll be ready to start laying some fairing compound. What I'm doing, I'm taking the tape and I'm laying it in against the toe rail, but I'm leaving about 1/4 of an inch out onto the surface of the deck, and that way I'm not going to be having to sand my new fairing compound right into the toe rail. All of this, once everything is on and faired and sanded that far out and into the whole center of the deck, what's going to happen is I'm going to be putting down gel coat on top of it eventually. And the gel coat, I can pull this masking tape off, put masking tape onto the tow rail itself and run the gel coat over the whole thing all the way out to the edge, all the way out to the tow rail. But for right now, I just don't want to have to be fighting sanding the fairing compound in close to the edge of the tow rail. And well, that's my theory anyway. We'll see how it goes. Nice theory. But this is not too difficult here. I mean, it's really pretty easy to set everything up and get an even margin of tape down, so that you're leaving some of this right there, some of this exposed, which is some of the old original gel coat. Now, from what I understand, with the sanding down to the 60 grit on top of it, that should take your fairing compound easily. I've been watching Andy of Boatworks Today, and watching what he does, and I think from my memory of it, that I'm correct on that. So I'm going to keep going, get this taped all the way around. There it is, guys, all taped off, and I think we're going to be fine. So I'm going to check the time, and it's taken all morning to do everything I wanted to do to prep this. But you know what? It needed the prep that I put into it. Really needed the prep. Anyway, let me turn this around. Once I got started and I began to see all the areas around the perimeter that needed sanded desperately. I mean, they really, really needed sanding. And the tow rails needed sanding. And I grant you, I got a little carried away with tow rails because I was freaking out over how much epoxy resin I'd managed to hand onto them while I was working. It's one of those, well, anyway, I just did a truckload of sanding all morning long, and now it's probably around noontime. Not supposed to get rain in here till 8 o'clock tonight. It takes about 3 hours for this stuff to set. Now, when I mean set, I mean being fingernail hard. I'm going by Andy on Boatworks Today. And once that's fingernail hard, you can put your fingernail into it and you can see a dent, okay? Then you can either hot top it, in other words, put a second coat on right over the top of it while it's still setting, or you can leave it to harden. But if you leave it to harden, you're going to have to leave it for 48 hours. Now, what I'm going to probably do is just go ahead and try to get my first coat down, not worry about hot coating, and leave it for 48 hours, because tomorrow we've got rain on again, off again all day. I'll just leave everything covered. Once it's on, and if I've got everything on here, and at least 3 hour hardened into the afternoon, evening hours, we'll be good. I'll cover it all back up, and as long as it doesn't get wet, we should be in good shape. This is not turning out the way I had planned it. My whole thought was I'll just get out here tomorrow morning and do a little sanding and throw some tape on and be up and running, right? No, it doesn't work that way. I mean, prep work is important. It really is. And the prep work I did is very important. And so we're in good shape now, though. And so when I start laying the fairing compound after lunch, I think we're going to be right out. I think we should be in good shape. Okay, so let me show you what we're doing here. By the way, I had to go all the way uptown to get my equipment, get it up here on the boat. It was in my wife's car. But anyway, here's the deal. I want to be able to have a template to drag through the fairing compound to roughly simulate this curve and actually allow for some thickness right in the joint here. And what I did, I was feeling around for this. This is a roll of just regular old blue tape. And I don't know if you can see that. It's not bad. Not bad at all. So what I've done I've drawn a line right where it meets the blue tape, which is vertical. It's the upright surface of the front of the cabin. and this is right where it meets the deck. And so in here you've got a hollow, which is going to be, I'm not going to probably leave it quite that deep, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and I'm going to transfer it to this. I've got two of these, by the way, two of these spatulas, if you want to call them, whatever they call. Two of these. I'm going to just transfer it right onto here and start it right there, end it right there with a magic marker. Cut this out and probably increase the depth of that curve a little bit, just so it goes down into the pocket a little more. But basically, that's going to be the rough curve to be able to fit into this as I drag the fairing compound through that transition coming off of the deck and up into the front of the cabin. That's the theory, and now I just got to do it. So here we go. Okay, there's the line, but I'm going to deepen this a little bit. Maybe more like that. Leave the flat down here so that this, yeah, I think that's looking about right. So now all I got to do is cut this. I'll cut it off, and I've got my file here. And once that's cut off and filed, we're going to test it against the front of the cabin, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, and that, my friends, is not bad. Right there. Not bad at all. And just take and get some fairing compound in there. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but that's not bad. So there we go. All just with a very, very inexpensive, I don't know what you call these. I think they call it a putty knife, whatever, you know. From Home Depot, you can get these dime a dozen. Matter of fact, like I said, I've got two of these. There's another one right there that I haven't cut. Believe me, it was worth it doing that to get the front of this cabin looking right. So, okay, we're good to go. I think we're going to mix up some fairing compound and get started. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I've been dragging my heels about this. Even though I've watched it being done online, on the internet many times, I got to get going. Okay, I'm not going to... I'll show you. Guys, this is a slob job, and I'll tell you why. As soon as I started getting this stuff down, the wind was blowing, and the tree started blowing crap all into the fairing compound, and I am just beefed. Whatever. I'm going to let this harden up, and I may do one more batch today, but I tell you, that's about all I'm going to do. I'm going to let this harden up and see what we can do in a more controlled situation. I was trying to do too much at once, no doubt about it, and it just, yeah, I just got a little discouraged with it as I was making the application. Some parts of it came out well, other parts not so good. And so what I've got to do now is let all this harden up. I'm not going to try to do a hot coat. If anything, what I'm going to do is start over on this side over here and take from the tape and pull it out with the new batch, and then try to come across here in a more logical, controlled fashion. Yeah, this did not work out well. I may go back and watch Andy making application on the boat that he was working on with the same stuff, same material, but understand that guy's a pro. He does this every day, all the time. So, all right, I'm going to mix up one more batch, I think, and that'll be it for the day. The problem is, if I pick any of these pine needles out of here, it just makes a mess. So I'm going to just try to see that you just saw more crap coming down. This is the problem. Okay, I'll get back to you later. Well, guys, this is positively dreadful looking. It's a start. So what I'm going to do, I've gone back and watched Andy do this on Boatworks today, and using the same stuff. And the main thing I see is that I'm not thinking big enough. I'm doing this with this thing, which is fairly good size, and I don't have my other one up here right now. My other smaller ones, and it's, yeah, I'm just thinking too small. So tomorrow I'm going to mix up a really big batch and start right about here, and just put it right in the middle and go sweep both ways wide, and try to get a nice smooth large coat going instead of a little pity-patty garbage that I've been doing here. I don't know. I was trying to get it done. It just didn't seem to, didn't work out the way I like it anyway. All right, guys, every 2 years, got to do it. So this is my 2025 sticker. About to get this off the page, get it stuck up here. I've already cleaned this. I am very picky about getting it positioned. There you go. There you go. So I have a brand new 2025 Massachusetts motor vessel. Motor. Yeah, well, kind of. Anyway, there we go. So, glad to have it. It saved my bacon one time because I was able to tell them what the number was on it. But anyway, all right, enough on that. And so that was the end of day one of work week. I decided to get down off the deck. I was having an attitude problem about the fairing compound. And I went in and I watched a couple more episodes of Boatworks Today with Andy, because he just makes it look so easy and everything. And I went for a walk with my wife, on the beach. But the main thing is when I came back the next day, a huge difference. And it wasn't just my attitude about it. It had to do with the fact that and I think I mentioned this in the video, it has to do with the fact that that night I got to thinking about it. I said, you know what? I need to go way up into the bow and work in a small area and in a more controlled situation and see if that doesn't make a difference. And it did. And so from then on, I really was in pretty good shape. And by I think the third day, I got hold of a drywaller's blade. These guys that do drywall, and I cannot believe what a difference that made. So anyway, you'll see as we go through these different days of working on the boat that it did get better and better. And I'm not done, but I'm just letting you know that just getting down off the deck, putting the sticker on the boat, going for a walk with my wife, watching Andy, all that kind of made a difference. So the very next day, day two was a lot better. So anyway, but I want you, just to kind of put a wrap on this one, and hope you enjoy. Like I said, I got several more of these coming out. This is just day one. And so we'll try to get these out as quickly as possible. Definitely be another one by next week. So, all right, thanks for watching.